Alright peasants, I am Freyn and I am back today with the Achilles on request. Now just a quick note, I am suffering from a bit of plague, so if my voice seems a bit off or I cough a lot, that is why. Now, in the first game here I am on Stalingrad. I'm just pushing forwards to around the C point. It's just a personal preference, I always play around C or B. I virtually never go A, and for the Achilles I think A is a really bad choice anyway. I'm just setting up here. This is what the Achilles really does best, playing hold down positions. I've only got the front of my turret visible, and I'm trying to shoot at anything crossing towards C. It's slightly different to where I used to play. I used to play around the G8 area where you can see two players there on the map. That was also hold down, and it had a bit of a better escape route, but I found it got less targets, and they could quite often get to C without me seeing them. Now here, it's a bit tricky to spot due to this fence, but I'm actually shooting at the aerials there. That's how I could see where he was. See a second one, go for him as well. I've now got two disabled, or mobility disabled in front of me at least. I know roughly where they are, there we go. And hit driver, gunner and engine. He's not going anywhere, he's not firing back. Third one appears, so let's get his transmission. He's currently the largest threat, as he's looking at me and he's still got a gunner, so finish him first. Now to finish the 4H. And I'm not quite sure where the third one is. I thought he was behind the 4H. He is. 4H has just disappeared. Shoot and finish the third. Now, the Achilles is one of my favourite tanks in the game. I have played it an awful lot, so I do have an ace crew. My reload is a bit quicker than most. I wasn't quite sure if this was the wreck of the first guy or a new return up, so just finishing it off. Now, I wasn't in a perfect position. I was a little too far up the hill. They could have shot back, but one great thing about the Achilles, if you see it that way, is that most of the front of the turret is the breach. So if you get hit there, you might lose a member of crew, but mostly you will just lose your breach. Obviously this means you can't fire back, but it does mean you're still alive. And I was in a position where I could roll away, back down the hill, and repair without being attacked. That's really what you want to do. It is a sniper tank. I think it should definitely be obvious that it is a sniper tank. It's not a brawler, although I do probably play it more aggressive than most. So, got the side of this, I think it's a Cheeto, it might be a Chino too, I'm not sure. Just couldn't quite hit his hole there. I was hoping to knock out his engine or something. Let's go for the back of the turret for the ammo. It is a Cheeto, and he did have some ammo in the turret. They don't always. If that hadn't killed him, I would have assumed he was repairing the stuff I'd already broken and moved to where I am now. Yep, a whirlwind crossing there. Well, it wasn't my best shot, taking out only the horizontal drive really of any significance, but it should help out the T-34 who is in the south. I know there's more down there. There's obviously the whirlwind, who I'm kind of waiting for him to reappear. He's a big threat to me. I know there's this Marder, although he's just being killed. And there's bound to be something else. You can see there's something firing at the rear of the T-34 there. I'm pretty sure that's the whirlwind. Yeah, there we go. There goes the whirlwind. Now, just moving forwards, I'll get towards this this station shed, well, or whatever we want to call it, and then push up to B. That's the plan. Plans don't always go as you'd like, though, and I can hear and clearly see shots. I know there's something coming to this T-34. Again, not a brawling tank. I don't really want to go and drive down and get involved head on. So the best I could do is try and snipe anything crossing gaps to cover him. It's not ideal, and to be honest, in the end I probably would have been better leaving and going somewhere else. The my only real concern was if I leave all these things alive down here, then they're going to come back and bite me in the ass, quite literally. I got the Werewolf indeed detract here. Let's just shoot a bit better, hit the ammo, take him out. Don't always explode, but the 17-pounder is probably, I would say, a good 50-50 for ammo racks. So, the Werewolf's the big threat, and he's gone. I'm assuming the T-34 can deal with the SO-key, which is all I know is still down there. So let's head back to B. Spot a Panzer IV sitting in this building. Line up. Got the ammo. Also took out the gunner, so he wasn't going to be a threat to anyone for a moment. That's the majority of my shot placement you'll find. Because I find that my most common opponent is Panzer IV, if I can, I will aim to try and get the gunner and the driver in the same shot. If I can't get both, I will go for the gunner. Pretty much all my shot placement is based around that. So, right side of the turret. There we go, again through the gunner. He had only a few crew left. Aircraft just marked someone beside me. Shoot, got the driver and the ammo. He was fully side on. I should have been able to reload before he rotated his turret. Maybe not if I hadn't had the ace crew, I don't know. At this point I looked at the map and realised quite how few people are left. Also that the T-34 in the south died, so I know there's something coming towards C. He actually got killed by a hurricane. Friendly fire, so maybe not. But I can still hear the SO-key. And there's a Puma. Now, rather than continue to advance, I'm trying to sit between these railway fence posts. They don't always render at longer range, but it's still something that might make me slightly harder to see. Whereas moving would make me more obvious. I didn't manage to kill him in one, but he's not going to get a return shot on me there, so let's move forwards. Still going for C. Gunner's out. Let's keep going and see if I can finish him before he hits the cap. And the turret wasn't quite pointed where I wanted. That's really the only major downside that the Achilles has, is the turret traverse. It's a good tank. I do think the M10 is a slightly better tank, the American version, but the Achilles was one of my first loves in the game, so I continued to play it. Finished the Puma there, and well, given what's happening to my tank now, I guess you can understand how this battle ends. And with me being the only one on the ground, not likely to respawn. Second clip is actually an older one. I think back before the last patch. I've had it lying around, but there's been no changes to this map, so there's no reason not to make use of this. So we've got a few tanks crossing into the west. I think from the south side of this map, the Achilles can play both the west and the east quite well. On the north side I would probably stick to the west, but that's again just personal preference. Now, I'm quite lucky none of them here decided to stop and shoot back. Although it is dangerous for them to do it, so I can understand why they didn't. But you never know, sometimes people do. Not my greatest shot placement for the start there. I was never expecting a kill, but maybe if I'd gone for engines instead of just trying to make sure I hit, which I was at the time, things might have gone a bit better. Yeah. Looks like the Cheeto has come back to try and return fire. So I'm going to push up to the ridge. Again, Achilles, great gun depression and a really small turret. So fantastic play to hold down. It's easily the best way to play it whenever possible. Pick up, get his turret crew. He doesn't choose to back off, which is kind of surprising to me. So let's hit his engine. There is a NATO backing interview there. Let's finish the Cheeto quickly. I rarely use the 50 cal on the Achilles. I don't like to give myself away if I can avoid it. But against a NATO, I can kill the majority of his crew with a 50 cal, so there's no reason not to. try and get this Tarsay here. Just centre mass for this will do quite easily, and there we go. Now again, I said I do play slightly more aggressive than most in the Achilles. Generally, I'll move to a bit of cover or a hold down spot. I'll try and knock a few out, and then I'll push up to the next bit of cover. I don't really want to be driving around in the open, but I don't sit still for prolonged periods of time if I can avoid it. Pushing up, trying to use the silos as some cover. We shouldn't be getting shot from the flank as we have people pushing around the A there to put pressure on them. As you can see, I'm still somehow the furthest up member of my team. There is something moving there, it's a whirlwind. So I'm not quite sure where he is. It's a bit risky to shoot behind the tent here. I should really have 50 cal'd it down. I didn't think of it at the time, but Werble has taken a hit already. He's backing up, and let's finish him off. Someone is capping B. And there's a bomb. So I'm a bit stuck, but at least I've still got my gun. There is a silo between me and whatever's on B. The backup I had there from my team was remarkably slow on the uptake. That's why I was kind of shocked that they started capping B actually. And as I said, I am more aggressive in this than I should be, and I think that most are. And I'm finally repaired. I can stop trying to take pot shots at planes. There's a Werble down there on the left, and something moving up directly ahead of me. So I need to move to the point where this rock is between me and him if I can. I'm probably not far enough forwards here. No, I'm definitely not when I take that shot. He might not have seen me yet, but I've got other things to deal with. Now, I would have liked to have gone and dealt with that martyr straight away. And it probably would have been the better call. I don't think the Tarsay or the Cheeto had noticed me, and if I pushed behind the rock, I might have been able to kill the martyr. But as it turns out, it's not even that martyr that kills me, it was the second one around the corner. Still, on to clip 3, this is the last one I played yesterday. Fields of Normandy. It's a little bit spawn campy as this map being so small, but it is probably my favourite map to play the Achilles on. Especially from the eastern side here, you get this nice ridge which the Achilles plays wonderfully. It's got ample gun depression to deal with it, and you can just sit, hold down. You can easily roll back to repair out of sight. There's really nothing anyone can do to quickly kill you if you don't overexpose.
Attention to the designated grid square.
Just looking around for targets. Ideally staying below the ridge, but so not my greatest positioning while I'm looking. It is a tall tank. You can't quite hide as fully as you could in some others, but still I should really be below the ridge until I spot an opponent, just to make sure that they come into view instead of seeing me and changing their mind. Just trying to deal with this T-34 here. Continually seem to be clipping the fuel tank, which isn't ideal. No, he's stuck behind the church. He can't really go anywhere. He's got the option of either hide behind the church for the rest of the game or come out and let me shoot him. There he goes. Shot slightly too far forwards or too far back, depending on either shot would have done the crew compartment or the engine. Instead I hit him dead center and got neither. He did get away, but he's at least out of FBE. See, whirlwind in the distance. Driver and transmission, he's not going anywhere. So even though I can't see him, Just a slight adjustment. I need to be firing higher into the left. There we go, ammunition. Now, there's plenty of other people with me, and they're all getting shot by tanks in this forest. So there we go. It's a Stug. So let's pop up again, just minimal exposure. Take out the Stug. The 17-pounder has got fantastic penetration, so the shell usually continues all the way through the tank and into the back of it. You'll quite frequently, you can treat it like a railgun essentially. It'll go through the crew, through the engine block. You can shoot end to end on a tank. With something like the Stug, where it's got all of its crew lined up like that, it should reliably one-shot if you're shooting head on. Now, just shooting a markers here, didn't actually get anything, didn't see anything. I was just taking pot shots while I was waiting for better targets. It's already obvious that the enemy team knows I'm here, and I've got plenty of allies around me firing as well, so stealth is hardly of utmost importance right now. But let's move forwards. Again, probably more aggressive than I should be with the Achilles. Everyone else is still staying back. The heavy and the medium are all behind me. Pre-turning my turret, it is the biggest downside of the Achilles, is that glacial traverse. So I know there's stuff in the forest still. Let's turn the turret before I arrive. See this Panther 4.
Attention to the map.
Didn't quite get the right crew member through all those bushes. It was a bit difficult. He doesn't seem to be firing at me other than machine guns, so I'm assuming it could have gone wrong, but I was assuming he was slightly disabled or unable to fire. Didn't really have time to scope that one up, so I went for the third person as soon as the turret was rotated. I was lucky he missed the side shot, really. If he'd hit that, I would likely have been dead. He did have a heavy driving up very close to him, but as anyone who's seen me on stream knows, I should really not rely on teammates. It is often the death of me. So, again, trying to stay hull down. Did unfortunately hit that tree before I stopped, which kind of clouded my vision. And here's where the spawn campiness begins. It's the real issue with this map, I suppose, is just that it's so small. I don't mind Fields of Normandy, but it is small, and yeah, you can kind of shoot into the spawns from halfway across the map. Now, this was a poor choice, really, to stop and shoot at him. I mean, had I kept on moving, he would have likely shot me as well, even then, and at least this way I did some damage to him. But here's actually, I think this is a good bit to note. The whirlwind is a massive threat to me. It can easily shred through the front turret, and through the turret ring. So dealing with it is knocking out the engine and staying out of its gun as best as possible. You can see I'm incredibly heavily angled. He's only hitting my side there. He can't do anything to me there. He's not going to be able to take out my engine on that angle. So burn him down, and there we go. Whirlwinds are they're a massive threat. They're probably the single biggest threat you'll encounter, while a Panzer IV will one-shot kill you if it hits your hull. The whirlwind, it's just not going to stop firing, and that will mess you up so fast. Panzer IVs, you quite frequently get a chance to shoot back. Not with the whirlwind, in my experience. Crusader is fighting something. Not entirely sure what or where. There we go. See the turret, it's a little Panzer III. And as I said, railgun end to end there, engine, gunner, driver, loader, all the way through the tank. The 17-pounder is one of the guns that I think actually benefited quite considerably from that AP buff recently. The 2-pounder and the 6-pounder, I think, in my opinion, are slightly worse than they used to be. The 20-pounder and 17-pounder AP rounds are performing much better. While one-shots are more possible, I personally still try to avoid the centre mass shots because I don't feel... I don't like the unreliability of using spall to cause the damage. I would rather go for the guaranteed kill on the crew members. So as I said earlier, my shot placement is pretty much always for the gunner side of the tank. Panzer IV's still your most common enemy. Shoot on your right side of the tank as you're looking at them. That's where the gunner and the driver are. Should disable them quite readily. And in most cases, shell will also go through into the engine block behind. T-34s are a little trickier in that regard, as you have the driver's hatch on that side. So a centre mass shot is a bit more feasible. Not quite sure what was going on with this there. That shell looked to me like it should have gone clean through the driver. But that's a little flak escaping there. There is something else moving. I didn't quite see it, I was focused on... I could see a bit of smoke coming from that bush and thought that was a tank, but... There we go. Now I've spotted him. He's got a lot of ammo in his tank, so get the rack behind the driver. But that's it for the kills this game. Still not quite sure what was going on with this this flak, neither hull breaking or taking any serious damage. It's not due to overpenetration, because obviously this isn't an APHE round. It's still capable of going through from one side to the other. But it's still a lot of force. I would have expected a hull break. Anyhow, that's it for the games. Now, as said, I do think I play probably more aggressively than I should do in it. It probably gets me killed a few times. Probably more aggressively than most would play it. It is ideally suited to sniping, as any tank really with this subpar armour should be. It's got great gun depression, -10, and it is obviously best suited to playing hull down. If you can get on the back of a ridge, then it will massively increase your survival. It's got kind of subpar hull armour, only 38mm at the front, even if it is well sloped, and you do have a transmission down there that you don't want to get hit in. The mantlet area up here is rather trolly, and if you are hull down, that should be the only thing they can hit. They shoot off to the side of the turret. It will quite possibly glance off due to the angle. Might not, especially if they hit down on these little corners. But again, if you're hull down, you ideally want only from your gun up showing, which reduces any penetrating hits to knocking out your breach. Okay, you don't want to lose your breach, but it's still better than losing your tank. If they hit to the left, they'll get the loader and possibly the commander who is sitting behind him. If they hit to the right, well, if you're fully gun depression, most shots will probably go over the top of your gunner's head. They might get him, maybe not. The mantlet is thick enough to trigger APHE rounds though, so they might get him regardless. It is, as I say, a weird tank where the commander is behind the loader. Normally he's on the other side. Now, as you can see, there is, on the X-ray cam, there is actually 6 ammo in the turret, but you only want to be ditching 5 ammo. If you bring 45 out of the 50 potential, it empties that turret ammo rack, because obviously 1 goes in the gun itself. So this increases your chance of survivability. There's no real point in ditching any of the ammo out of the hull, as you will die if anything hits the hull anyway. So just get rid of that 5 ammo, and that will help your survival immensely, especially if you're playing it hull down. because that's the only that should ever get hit. You are slightly vulnerable to planes being open-topped, but overall it's certainly one of my favourite tanks in the game. It's very mobile, it's got a good high-penetrating gun that can go end-to-end on a tank, it's got a great reload rate. Its only downside is the turret traverse, but your regular traverse isn't too bad, especially if you already have some speed built up. You can spin around 180 degrees pretty damn quick if you are going at top speed already. Again, as far as shot placement goes, I would say aim for the crew, especially on the Panzer IVs, which are going to be your most common enemy. Aim for the gunner and the driver on the right hand side as you're looking at their tank. It should get both. You could go center mass, it might secure you a kill, it depends on the enemy's vitality level. Sometimes the spall itself is not enough to kill a crew member. So I would recommend, it takes you an extra shot, but it should die in two. One on the right first to disable, and then one on the left. You will be able to fire again before they can replace their crew. You can go for ammo racks if you wish. It's probably about a 50-50 with the 17-pounder at the moment, in my opinion. But your shell should go end to end, so regardless of where you aim, expect them to lose their engine as well. T-34s, if you do meet the Russians, little trickier due to that driver's hatch, but if you fire above the driver's hatch, you should still just clip the driver and the gunner in the same shot. Alternatively, you can go center mass right down the middle and hope to get all four crew. Side shots aim in the lower front, should get all the crew again. But I don't think there's anything else really to say about the Achilles, so I'll end it there. And again, as always, if you have any feedback, any requests or suggestions, anything at all, please drop a comment below. I can be found on Twitch a few times a week. Not today, unfortunately. I am, as I said, a bit ill, and I don't really want to commit to a longer session. But for now, that is all, and I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.